Folks, welcome into sportsbookreview.com. It's time to talk some NFL football. Week 6 opening lines right here at sportsbookreview.com. And I got to tell you, Kyle, we got live football. Now, this isn't a Monday. Nope. It's not a Thursday. It's not a Sunday. It's Tuesday, and we are going live with the NFL. But I got a problem, Kyle, right off the bat I want to talk about. The last time there was a Tuesday night football game, my Philadelphia Eagles were taking on and getting an easy victory over the Vikings, and Joe Webb, not so fast. Eagles lost. I don't like Tuesday football, Kyle.
Oh boy. Yeah, that's right. Back in 2010. And then the time before that, it hadn't happened since 1946. Was it the Boston Yanks versus the New York Giants in a 17-0 game back at the old Brave Stadium? But of course, your Eagles would ruin a Tuesday night. It makes perfect sense. I mean, they ruined my Sunday last week, so that makes a ton of sense. But it's pretty cool. Both these teams obviously should be well rested. A couple injuries. Obviously, Corey Davis not going to be there dealing with the COVID issues. But it's a lot of fun. It's a strange year for sure. And we're getting Tuesday night football. We'll take it. I'm really excited for it, and I'm excited to have Dave on, so that we can figure out all the tricks on how to beat the books, because I'm sure that's what he wants us to do.
Welcome into the show, people watching out there. How about this? 70,900 people have hit the subscribe button right here on our YouTube channel at SBR Sports Picks. Thank you guys for doing that. If you haven't done so yet, just tuning into the show for the first time, click that subscribe button, turn the notification bell on. Every single time we go live and talk NFL football right here on the network, you will get it delivered directly to your invoice. And I'll tell you one thing here, Kyle. We have Dave Mason. We're going to bring him on in just a few moments. You know what Dave is probably happy about? It's an extra standalone game of NFL football on a Tuesday. Oh, yeah. Let's bring in our guest, Dave Mason from BetOnline.ag. Was with us last Tuesday. Had a great show. Why not come back for seconds, Dave? Welcome back in to the NFL show right here on SportsBookReview.com.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys. You're absolutely right. Whenever there's a standalone game, man, the action just pours in. Now, of course, there's nothing Thursday, but we'll take it tonight. Monday night game, Tuesday night game, and last night's game, nothing too special. But we got some good action coming into tonight's game, so it's going to be great.
Yep, I'm thankful for last night because we had a nice 4-hour show. If you guys didn't join the NFL live party, Kyle was trying to get us a few strikes on YouTube, but hey, we're still here. We're on the air. Everything is good, but we're going to have a good time to go over a couple bits of information. Sunday was an interesting day, as it is always, Dave, when we talk NFL football, and I always like to get your perspective, like what the house was rooting for. Big winners for you on Sunday. Which games did you circle and say, you know what, we might be able to keep the lights on down here?
Yeah, overall, it was a great day. It was a really good day for the house. And, NFL's been a grind this year. And I think we talked about that last week, but NFL has been a grind this year so far. But this past week was really good. Sunday, Carolina was good. Vikings was really good. That Las Vegas. But the spread wasn't really too big on that big upset. But the Las Vegas money line was good. We had guys betting the heck out of the Chiefs outright, and it killed a lot of teaser, killed a lot of those money line parlays. But you went to Sunday, but I can't ignore Thursday night, guys. That was just a massive win. That was one of the biggest regular season games in the history of BetOnline. That we had some reverse line movement going on. We took a position with the sharp action, and the public was all over the Buccaneers. So that Bears win was just a massive one for us. I'm sorry, I had to throw that in there. I'm still excited about it.
I was actually excited about it, and I guess Kyle added to that little bit of it there, going with Tampa Bay. But I don't want to poke any fun at Kyle or the fact that we went head-to-head with Cleveland and the Indianapolis Colts on Sunday. But that's another show. That's another story right here. Giving away some money, because I know the house is going to take most of the majority. But were there games on Sunday where you said, public, here's your money. You'll be able to spend it next week right back here on BetOnline?
Oh, always there's some big losers for the house or big winners for the public. Texans was good. Cardinals. Pittsburgh was decent over our Eagles, Donnie. And the biggest one was KC over. That was our biggest 1:00 decision was the over in the KC game. That exceeded all the spreads on those 1:00 games, believe it or not.
Well, Dave, speaking of crazy stuff that happened on Sunday, we saw the just horrifically nasty injury to Dak Prescott. And we sort of joked about this off air last week behind the scenes. Like, what do you do with this NFC East? Where are the prop bets for can they even get to 9 wins? What do you do now with the NFC East with arguably the best player in the entire division being gone for the rest of the season? What are we looking at for the NFC East, and how are you guys adjusting the odds for that division?
Yeah, well, they do have a good backup as far as backups are concerned. Dalton. I mean, the drop off from a point spread perspective is probably about 5.5 points, so it's still a significant loss. But yeah, lucky for Dallas, they're going up against those other teams in the NFC East, so they're still the favorite. They dropped, even though they won last week and they took over first place in this division. Their odds have dropped. They were minus 135 last week. Now they're minus 125. The Eagles plus 125 last week. Now they're plus 140. The two bottom feeders have actually improved. The football team, the Washington football team, plus 1,400. How weird does that sound? Plus 1,400 to plus 1,100. And the big winners of the weekend, the Giants. They went from 50-1 to 20-1. Wow. Even though they haven't won a damn game. So who knows? You want to ask me to put sense to that nonsense I just came out of my mouth? I can't do it. I mean, that whole division needs to be blown up. Maybe put an all-star team with all four teams and let them play. I don't know. But yeah, the Giants are the big winners this weekend as far as divisional odds are concerned, it looks like.
Yeah, God, that's just crazy. That's just crazy to me. And Donnie will not call them the football team. He refuses to do that, and that's why I love him so much.
And they beat the Eagles too, so there's a lot of hate going on right now.
That's it. Yeah, there's a lot of hate. I think Kelsey said it on Twitter last night. Donnie was not loved enough as a child, and that might have a lot of
hater over here. A
lot of hater over there. So looking ahead to tonight, we get a Tuesday night football game, and you got to think with this game originally being scheduled for Sunday, now it's a standalone game on Tuesday. Are you seeing a considerable more action on this game? Is there something you're looking for? What are you rooting for from a book side for these Tuesday night football games?
Well, as far as overall action, absolutely. I mean, anytime you put it on the primetime lights with no competition, it's gonna, this is probably gonna see 2.5 to 3 times more action, at least, than it would have on a Sunday afternoon, without a doubt. Probably more. 63% of the cash is on the Bills right now, minus 3.5 at plus 100. The total's 50-50. Action is very close to 50-50, so we won't be sweating an over for once this season. And the money line, they're on the Bills as well. About 79% of the action is on the Bills. Up right now, it's minus 175. The tape back on the Titans is plus 155.
Yeah, it looks nice this week, tonight, at least anyway. You get the 2 Major League Baseball games sandwiched with a National Football League. And as Kyle will tell you, Dave, I'm of the older generation. So when I see a 7 o'clock start, I'm like, you know what? Thumbs up. 8:15, I might not be able to make it all the way through. Let's flip it over to weekend action coming up this week in Week 6, Dave. The one quick question I have, because I always like to get inside of the mind of, the odds maker and where they're looking for. The 2 games that I want to talk about here, Houston and Tennessee, and also Kansas City, Buffalo. Most of the odds makers don't have odds up yet. And from your perspective, we know that they're playing tonight. Are there times where you put a line out earlier before the game or maybe just after the game? What's your thought process going into a game that's playing tonight when we know there's going to be maybe some heavy betting action on 2 really good matchups this weekend coming up? When do you set those actual lines to be official?
Right. I mean, we put them up as early as possible. We like you said, some books don't want to put it up until their week games are over. But I mean, we're pretty aggressive with it. We'll keep the limits a little bit lower just to be conservative and let people bet it. And, if circled accounts are betting it, then we'll move accordingly. We don't sweat that too much. We're not too worried about that. We're aggressive with that. Our players like it. We think we retain more players because of that. But it comes down to the skill of the guys on the stage. If they know what's going on, and if something happens, you close it, right? If another COVID rumor comes out, we close it. That information's everywhere. So, and the thing is, not a lot of people bet it early. A lot of the bettors are so last minute, and they want to see what's going on tonight until they bet it. So it's you're not taking a ton of action on those early games. Like I'm looking right now. Yeah, the next week's Texans Titans game, it's about right there with the lowest amount of action, except for like 2 or 3 games. So, we're not too worried about it.
Yeah, we've done many shows here. I know I've hosted many shows here, Dave. We always give that moniker, BetOnline. The reason why we give their lines a lot of time because they are first to action. Kyle, go ahead. What do you got?
Well, I was just gonna ask, with this year, with the COVID things and things being a little bit different, have you noticed people waiting longer than usual to place their bets, or does it seem pretty normal across the
It's normal, which I can never understand, man. I
Right.
mean, when people ask me what's your advice to new sports bettors, that's always a popular question throughout the podcast world. And my two answers are always money management, right?
Of course.
Everybody needs money management. I don't care how big your bankroll is. And secondly, don't ignore the early odds. I mean, it's just mind-boggling how many people come in the last day or the last hour, last couple hours before kickoff and just make their bets, and they miss so much value. And we're giving that value by opening our odds before every other competitor out there, and we have a very good following. And I'm sure you guys
I love.
are two of them that just look at those early odds, and we're
Oh
not
yeah.
perfect. We're going to be off, especially when you're talking like college football or college basketball. And there's college football and college basketball Saturday afternoons where there's 1,000 games in a normal year, and it's just like those damn numbers just move like crazy. Yeah, I hit up the guys on the college Saturday when there's both football and basketball in action, and those guys are I don't try to hit them up too much on those days, man. I let them be, because those are probably their most stressful days, and
Oh
those
yeah.
numbers, they've got to put numbers on the board first, and those damn things are going to be moving. And it's just like NFL too, but it just always amazes me how few people really pay attention to those early openers, and they just wait until the last minute to bet, and they're just losing on so much value. How we
Yep.
all know what you get an extra half point to a
Yep.
point, and you mathematically it's in your advantage. So
Dave, we like to take a look at some of the bigger games on the weekend card coming up, and I'm looking right now, and there's always a method to the madness with the NFL. They load up at 1 o'clock and they pick some select national games because they want all the eyeballs on that game. And I'm going to assume, same as you, it's got to be a nice feeling because you load the 1 o'clock card up. You have a 4:05 game that's going to kick off between the Jets and the Dolphins. Like, whoa, but that 4:25 standalone game between
oh boy.
Rodgers and Brady, Green Bay, Tampa Bay. I'm looking at the lines, opening up offshore, 1.5s, 2.5s across the board. That game is probably going to get hit heavily here. And it looks like
Oh yeah.
everybody says, give me Green Bay. What are you thinking here, Dave?
Oh yeah, I mean I'm just looking at the early bet count, and
Oof.
there's twice as many bets on the Packers than there are any other team that day. And that's kind of rare, because a lot of those 4 o'clock bets won't come in till the 1 o'clock bets are graded. Usually it's always one of those big 1 o'clock games that are getting most of the action. But no, not this one. That's going to be a massive game. And yeah, 90% of the early bettors are on Green Bay. 91% is on Baltimore. So we're going to have some huge decisions on Sunday as usual.
Yeah, I was gonna kind of piggyback on that. So when you see that kind of money coming in on one team, what are you guys thinking from that perspective, and what do you do to try to maybe sway bettors one way, sway them another, and what are you rooting for when that's going on?
Well, even though there's a ton of early action on it, still, like I said, kind of your previous question, a majority of the action by far is yet to come in. So you can't, you can't really rush to judgment. You can't.
Sure.
We know we're going to need Tampa Bay Sunday, without a doubt. That being said, we're going to want the sharpest number. So we're going to, if any sharps are hitting it, we'll move it. If not, we'll just let it play out. And at the end, if no sharps still have a play and we're still in that 80 to 9%, yeah, we're going to move it a half a point or all. But it's too early in the week for any kind of public move. But if sharps are showing their face, that's what it's going to move. And that's when it's going to move 90% of the time, is just some intelligent, sharp opinions betting the other side.
Yep, I'll tell you one sharp opinion, Dave. How about this? There's going to be 5,000 people at Lincoln Financial Field. Ooh, spooky scenario going up against Baltimore. Are you going to adjust the line, Dave, based on those 5,000 rowdy fans at the link?
If it was at the old vet and they were all sitting at 7, and all sitting at 700 level, and the court was still open in the basement, yeah, that's worth a field goal. But nah, not this weekend.
No, it should be good. Always a fun time to talk with you, Dave. Before you get out of here, guys, check out betonline.ag. Dave, tell the people what they can expect this weekend, and also from betonline.ag.
Yes, sir. BetOnline.ag. If you don't have an account, go over and sign up for one. We got there, like I said, we have the earliest odds in the industry. Don't miss out on that advantage. That's better than any bonus. There's no rollovers to that. nothing. It's just pure mathematical value. But if you're into bonuses, hey, we got them too. 100% first time crypto bonus with promo code crypto100 and a 50% regular welcome bonus for other methods with promo code BOL1000. We have all sorts of reload bonuses. You get bonuses 24/7, 365. BetOnline.ag/promotions for all the details.
There he is, Dave Mason from BetOnline. Thanks again, Dave, for joining us here on our Tuesday opening line show. Always interesting information, and yes, go Birds correctly. Thank you, Dave, for coming on with us.
All right, guys. Take care.
Take care. There we go. And look, always interesting, informative stuff. A lot of fun to have Dave on. As you know, we like to get that perspective from the opposite side. And it looks like, Kyle, extra 5 fans at the link doesn't mean we're going to really move that line around too much.
Yeah, it's going to be a long weekend, I think, for your Philadelphia Eagles, and they could lose and still wind up. Well, no, they have to win, right, to get back in.
They ain't winning this weekend. We want to rest. I want to rest Lane Johnson. We're going to get in that a little bit. I want to rest Lane Johnson. I want to rest the crew, and then get ready for the second half of the season. But we're going to get ready for the second half of the show now. We're going to do a nice little preview of this weekend's card coming up, almost like opening up that book and reviewing the lines for the first time through. I love doing that because it sort of sets the tone for the week on which way we want to go and try to pick apart some analysis here. But before we do that, thank you guys for coming into the chat box with us. Matt, Andrew, Sean, some guy named DFS Bachelor's in here, and Mark Rock, Sean. Real handsome. Very handsome guy. It looks like that is participating in the show. But let's talk about some things from week 5 before we move on. Big week 5 winners of the week, Kyle. I'll let you start first here. NFL action on Sunday or even last night on Monday. What did you see and say, you know what? This team is my winner of the week, or a couple teams I really like what I saw from them?
Well, I liked what I saw from the Cleveland Browns, honestly. 4-1 for the first time in God knows how long. And, they were able to battle through adversity. Baker Mayfield even got hurt in that game. They had some mistakes, gave up the special teams points, the pick 6, and were still able to grind out a win against, even though they were injured, a good Colts team. So I really liked what I saw. Yeah, I liked what I saw from the Cleveland Browns. That whole division is going to be really tough. That AFC North is a tough division. Even the Bengals, even though they got trounced and didn't look all that great, they're one of the better bottom feeder teams. And I like what I saw out of the Carolina Panthers. How about going on the road, winning against a division rival, moving to 3-2? We sort of talked about Carolina early in the year as one of these teams that we kind of liked with these big odds. And I think Carolina has really stepped up without their best player, Christian McCaffrey. Now they're above 500, winnable game this week as well for Carolina. I like what I saw out of the Carolina Panthers, and good on them. And then, of course, the rest of the NFC East all won with Dak Prescott going out. So now it's a race to 6 wins in that division. And, if you're Doug Peterson and Carson Wentz, you've got to be thanking your lucky stars, because that division is yours for the taking now with Andy Dalton at the helm for the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, talking about that Carolina Panthers team, because it doesn't take much, and they didn't play all that well, but they still go on the road and win by a touchdown in the division is always a nice move. And I got to tell you, the interesting part about that is you paid Christian McCaffrey a ton of money. You get Mike Davis on this little cheap deal, and he's filling in very admirably, but also taking a look at some options, because we always see the free agent market. Boy, that was a bad signing. How about Robbie Anderson again? 8 catches, 112 yards. That deep threat that you need to separate. Good group of wide receivers, good group at running back, because now you have Mike Davis playing that second fiddle once McCaffrey comes back. And you also, being at 3-2 now, Kyle, don't have to rush Christian McCaffrey back. You can let him get rested and ready, be 100% because they got it. I'll tell you the one team that I thought was a winner this week, those Oakland, Las Vegas / Raiders out there looking good, dropping a 40 spot out in Arrowhead. Pinpointed that game. It was going to be nice weather. And again, you're going into Arrowhead when you usually can't hear on offense. There's just a smattering of fans. Derek Carr was sensational in that game. What did he do? 347 yards, 3 touchdowns. Ruggs comes back to add that deep threat in the lineup. Nelson Aguilar is catching touchdowns. You have an athletic tight end, a good running game, a good offensive line. If Derek Carr can get his head screwed on straight and keep it there for the rest of the season, I was really impressed with that football team. But just going down all the way through, that really stood out. We can go to losers. I'll start out here. And even though it's a bad football team and you didn't expect much out of them, the Bengals did nothing this weekend versus the Ravens. And the Ravens weren't even that good on offense. That 27-3, you would have figured it came in a thing. If you watch the game film and go through play-by-play for the Bengals, they really didn't participate all that well. Joe Burrow, 19 of 30, 183 yards and 1 touchdown. I mean, heck, Joe Mixon, 24 carries for 59 yards. They did nothing on offense. I thought they would compete a little bit better. Not having said that, hey, I took the Ravens or I was betting that game. I didn't have anything on that game. I was just surprised that they only put up 3 points and really with a whimper. And my other losing team of the week, and they are losing. Both of these teams are losers, the Bengals, but also the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Yeah.
Lose 30-14 for the Texans. I said, if you don't get 30 points this week for the Texans, you might as well shut it all down. They end up getting to the 30 points. But I didn't understand because you look and say, well, hey, look at Minshew's numbers. Their game plan was ridiculous. It was 5-yard swing passes out of the backfield the entire game. And then getting into the red zone, the most horrific one that we saw was the 3rd and 1. I'm going to run my running back outside the pocket. He can pass or run. He just drops the football for a fumble. They were a disaster on Sunday. But when you bet 2 bad football teams, if you do, that's what you usually get here. Give me some losers on Sunday here, Kyle.
Well, I hate to start with this, but they absolutely lost this week, and it was a bad loss, and it was bad for their season outlook, and that's my San Francisco 49ers. You just cannot get blown out by the Miami Dolphins like that at home, and they were starting to get healthy. Jimmy Garoppolo was definitely not ready to play. I think that was a huge mistake. You could see he could not put any weight on that lead leg. I mean, it just looked absolutely atrocious. But that defense as well, I know they're banged up, but you give up 43 points to the Miami Dolphins on the road. In that division, you just cannot afford to lose like that. Then you had the Cardinals winning big, the Seahawks squeaking out a second-half comeback, and the Rams winning big. So now you're sitting at 2-3 in the NFC West, and it looks like a long haul, and it looks like it's going to be a long year for the 49ers, so I thought that was big. And then, obviously, the big loser of the week has to be the Dallas Cowboys, right? It just has to be. And, no one wishes to see that. Dak Prescott, for as much grief as we give the Cowboys, seems like a really good young player. Didn't get the long-term extension. Yeah, nice guy. And you could see how all his teammates really supported him. And that was just an awful injury, and it's a bad deal. Now you can say good on the Cowboys for it was actually a very good signing getting Andy Dalton, even though trust me, you're not going to win anything significant with Andy Dalton at quarterback. But at least you have a competent backup, and you're in a division where 6 wins could literally win the division. But that's a bad loss. I think it's a bad loss, not just for the Cowboys, but for the league. Dak Prescott, one of the better young players in the league, and a whole lot of character with that young man, so we hope he heals quickly. But, man, that's a huge loss for the Dallas Cowboys, especially with how terrible that defense is.
Yeah, we'll see if it going forward because you're still asking. You think the Philadelphia Eagles, because their quarterback is still standing upright at this time, as we like to say, but both of the offensive lines are banged up. It'll be interesting going down the stretch because at least you have that veteran presence. You're not going over to some 7th-round draft pick or a guy that has 2 career starts. Andy Dalton's been around the block, been to the playoffs 5 times, and you actually get the keys to a Ferrari out here. It's not Andy Dalton saying, holy cow, who am I throwing to out here? He's got a bunch of Ferraris and Porsches around him. If he can just manage the game, you don't have to get that many wins to win the NFC East. So we'll see how that plays out as it comes down the stretch. Let's talk a little bit of topics this week because obviously we are gamblers. People that watch the show do gamble. We're going to get to the games this weekend and give some thoughts and prognostications of who we think will possibly win early in the week. But how about this? The reality of 2-point conversions in the NFL. And It's a big topic that comes up because analytics and, win-loss percentages that change throughout the game. They didn't go for it on 4th and 1. That changes their probability by 5%. They should have gone for 2 here. They should have kicked the field goal here, not punted here. It all enters into it. But now I'm finding myself those old adages that we have to get out of our mindset, the 3s, the 7s, the 10s, the 14s, they're not playing into the same value because more and more teams are going to get more analytical the way they look at it. It's not going to be less and less as the way it was before. Case in point on Sunday, and I brought it up in the show yesterday, taking the Pittsburgh Steelers instead of getting the 7 or the 7.5, taking it at the 6.5, saying they should be able to play through 7s and 10s. I do think the Steelers are going to win by about a touchdown, but if they win by 7, I want the win. I don't want the push. And they're up 17, which is exactly what you would think in the third quarter. There's no reason whatsoever, even 3 or 4 years ago, that anybody would think of going for a 2-point conversion. But here are the Eagles scoring a touchdown from 17, theoretically to make it 10. They're down 11. They go for 2 to make it 9. And I'm going, I know what's coming right now. It's going to be like a 6-point win. I'm going to lose all the way around, even though I thought I was being smart by getting the 6.5. How about some thoughts on playing in the new NFL landscape? Again, We always look. I don't want 3.5. I don't want to, I want the 2.5, or I want the 3. Worst case scenario. That's sometime no longer going to play into it, Kyle.
Whew, that was a big sweat for me. I was angry, happy, really angry, and then really happy. Thank you, Chase Claypool, for that open touchdown late in the game.
Yes, I loved it. I'm an Eagles fan. I loved it.
But you're absolutely right. And not just the 2-point conversions, but also how they've lengthened the extra points. So we're seeing more and more missed extra points. So now, 3s and 7s are still the most valuable numbers. There's no doubt about it. We even saw it last night, 30-27. That's what we saw in overtime, and boom, it played perfectly into what we thought. But now you start to add some value to these 6s, the 8s, the 5s, and it's things that we've never thought about before. So it's really important to kind of check out those teams. Like the Pittsburgh Steelers are a great example. They've been doing this for years. They go for 2 more than any other team in the league, I believe. The top 3, at least in there. Mike Tomlin's been doing that for years. So, I've been telling people, don't ever play Chris Boswell as your fantasy kicker, because they're just not going to roll him out there. They're going to go for it on 4th down, and they're going to go for 2. And so more and more teams are doing this. Teams like the Eagles, the Steelers, teams that are heavy into the analytics are going to do it. And then you see other teams like the Colts, for example, who refused to do it when they needed to do it in that game. And you're like, wait, they're not doing it. So it's important to sort of research those things. But yes, 6s and 8s become more valuable now. 4s become more valuable now that teams are going for 2 more. They're going for it on 4th down more. They're kicking less field goals. And they're missing extra points at a higher rate than they ever did before.
No, you're right. And just looking on a couple things like betting points coming into this week also, like fired head coaches, case in point last week, we ranted and raved. Take the shackles off the Houston offense and the Houston team once Bill O'Brien is gone. Voila! They score 30 points to get an easy win and cover in their game. Because why? We don't like this head coach. Now Romeo Crennel comes in. Is he a great head coach? No, but the guys want to play for him. You get that 1-game bump at least to say, hey, coach, we got your back. Good luck out here. And the new offensive coordinator, because Bill O'Brien was strangling that offense. Hey, we're just going to let it fly out here. Let's see what happens. Did they play all that well? No, but they still dropped 30 points again with an easy cover. Now we get into it to look this week. Atlanta's going to have a new head football coach, Raheem Morris, who's been around the block, wasn't very good in Tampa Bay. But hey, maybe they'll play for him. Maybe Julio goes, man, I don't even want to come back this week because my hamstring hurts and Dan Quinn is still here. But now Raheem Morris steps up to the play because, Coach, I got you this week, and I'm going to gut it out and get up there. We'll see if that makes a difference in winning, or at least a better effort on offense, because also what you saw put on notice, when things change in management, where you fire your head coach and you fire your general manager, and your owner says, hey, the question is, what about Matt Ryan? What's he look like? Well, look, he's got to play better. Everything's on the table. So now Matt Ryan goes, whoa, I got a lot of money left here. I don't want to lose this money. I better kick it in the gear. So a lot of things come down. Looking at a coach that has been fired on a bad team, sometimes you get the bump. How do you look at it entering even into week? We're not talking about like week 15, 16 where they usually get fired. You're getting fired in the first third of the season here.
Yeah, and they're two different scenarios. Like you really felt like, Romeo Crennel, oldest head coach, by the way, ever in NFL history at 73 years old. I thought that was really interesting because I still think he looks 55. But you felt like the shackles were coming off there. Then you look at Atlanta, and it's like, man, they fired the coach. They fired the GM. They've replaced all their coordinators. I love seeing Bernie Parmalee being the special teams coordinator, bringing me back to backup running back from the Miami Dolphins in the day, right? Yeah, absolutely. But they have changed everything. And that, like, to me, Atlanta feels like in way more in flux than Houston does, if that's even possible. And Houston has the highest salary number in the league. They don't have their first 2 draft picks, but it does feel like the people and the players in Atlanta love Dan Quinn more than the Houston players and fans loved Bill O'Brien. So, and again, Raheem Morris, he's just stepping in from being the offensive coordinator, now the head coach. The offense has been one of the bigger, the offense and the defense have both been big problems. I just feel like Atlanta is fledgling. Like, this is a team that's going to compete for one of the top 3 or 4 picks in the draft this year. Their defense can't stop anyone. Their offense doesn't look any good. Julio Jones can't stay healthy. Matt Ryan doesn't look right. And it's not like there was this drastic – I don't feel like there's a weight lifted off the Falcons. I feel like there's even more weight added onto the Falcons when I look at it. So I'm really, really down on the Falcons, and I feel better about the Houston Texans. It's just two different scenarios.
Yeah, we'll see how it plays out, and it's always interesting, and it adds to your capping because you're trying to guess the mentality of a football team as opposed to just the numbers that come out. 155 people watching here on a Tuesday, talking a little bit of football with us. We'll get to the game tonight in just a few moments. Thank you guys for subscribing to the channel and getting after it. And also, we're going to talk a little pick six contest, which I went 3-3 last week, and I actually made an error myself saying all week long, hey, look at the Oakland Raiders. They're going to be able to cover the spread, only to see, I was like, good, a nice little 4-2 week for me. Turned into a 3-3 because I clicked the wrong button and I took this damn Kansas City Chiefs as opposed to taking the Raiders, which I told all of you to take this week. Yes. So I'm going to live with that, and I'm going to be 3-3 as opposed to a 4-2 record, but that's neither here nor there. If you haven't got into the Pick Six contest yet, there is a link just below where me and Kyle are talking right now. Click that link, sbrpicks.com/NFL. You might not be able to win the full season-long prize, but week to week, you see it retweeted out. You're looking at a couple $100 here and there, a couple $100 there. Adds up at the end. Get out there, get a 6-0 week, claim your part of that prize pool. Kyle, by the way, how'd you do in that Pick Six this weekend, huh?
I went 3-3 as well, and I was really pissed about it because I locked it in early, and Sunday morning I wanted to change all my picks. I wanted to change them all. I really love. We talked about the Raiders covering all week, and why I didn't make that a part of it, I don't know. And then I got a little bit scared. I did it late in the week and didn't lock in the Dolphins because I thought the Dolphins would cover. I didn't think they would stomp the 49ers like they did, but I thought they would cover. But then by the time I locked it in, it was like 5.5, and I was like, good Lord. So I ended up going 3-3. The biggest disappointment for me was just that Carolina-Atlanta game not getting over 53.5. Frustrating game to watch. The offenses were just kind of stagnant. Matt Ryan looked terrible. That Falcons offense looked terrible. If they'd have just given the ball to Todd Gurley more, which we talked about, he had a good game. It didn't get there. But 3-3, we'll take it. I think I'm 15-12-1 or something like that for the season. So we're still plus money. We're still looking good on that. And it's a lot of fun. It's free, guys. You can come over there, beat us, then come in the chat and tell us how dumb we are. And trust me, we love that. That's what we want to see. So
I live for being called dumb. You are
me
correct.
too. I mean, I get happens to me 4 times a week over here at SBR.
I'm going to invoke the Gordon Flash Watson appeal right now. We only have 18 thumbs up in the chat box with over 165 people watching right now. Can I please get that up just a little bit higher? So after the show, me and Kyle don't get brought into the principal's office and say, hey, look, you're not even thumbs up with your show. Maybe you guys got to get off the channel. So please don't have them remove us from the channel and give us some thumbs up there. It always helps out for us. But let's get into some football, right? This is what we do on Tuesday. Get that fresh look. Look, we've all seen the odds come out. I haven't placed any wagers yet for this Sunday. I like to talk it through and then start my process as the week goes. But guess what? We're not even done week 5 yet. We have a game tonight, 481, 482, Buffalo and Tennessee. Yes, people, we have a Tuesday night football game. About 6 out of every 10 tickets showing up on SBRodds.com going with the Buffalo Bills. But how about this? The Bills open up at around 3.5. We're seeing 3s and 3.5s across the board. So not a lot of movement. And it honestly looks too easy. Wait a second. I have one team not infected with COVID and rested versus another team that can't even practice and is infected with COVID, but yet that line is not moving. And also an over-under that opens up at 51, 51.5, now at 52 at most outlets. Are we going to get a clean football game out of this? Because I got to tell you, it looks way too easy to take the Buffalo Bills here, Kyle.
I know it feels like a trap, right? I mean, it just does because, like I think the Bills are a better team. Tennessee's going to be without Corey Davis. They've had. I don't think being on the road's that big of a deal in this game. They've been waiting to play. It seems like Buffalo would kind of be pissed off a little bit, right? Like, hey, man, you guys need to get your act together here. But boy, oh boy, when you get these teams in the NFL, an undefeated team, mind you, who's been just getting nothing but grief from myself included. For 2 straight weeks now, it does feel like a trap. I actually like the under in this game. I think the Titans try to run the football quite a bit. Tre'Davious White being out for Buffalo concerns me a little bit. Zach Moss coming back for Buffalo makes me think they're going to run the football even a little more. I thought it was a cold game, but it turns out it's a beautiful weather game, as we found out before the show. Thank God we double looked at that. You can thank Donnie for that, or I was going to give you terrible information on that. But
that's my job.
It truly is. That's why Donnie's the best in the industry, and I'm just here, to to age on the screen. I mean, it's 100% fact. But like Buffalo's the smart pick. Buffalo's the better football team. Josh Allen has been absolutely electric. If John Brown plays as well, they're going to have their full complement of weapons. But I would not sleep on a team like Tennessee, an undefeated team, a team that went to the AFC Championship game last year that's been bashed in the media for 2 weeks. Feels like a trap. So for me, I have a prop bet that I put in, and I made a bet on the under because I just don't know if they get to that 51.5, 52.5, 53 that we're seeing across the board there.
Yeah, it looks like there's a lot of people on that COVID-19 list, and I want to see the officially, like, who's in, who's out, because some of these guys could have tested positive last week. Now they're clear, but you don't see any practice reports. Keep in mind, this is a 7 o'clock kickoff tonight, so if we're taking a look, maybe one of the more important, inactive lists that you're going to see tonight, make sure you check in around 5:30. So if you're thinking one way or another and you're putting a bet in at, 5 o'clock, and also, oh my God, I didn't know this guy was out. Wait till that inactive report comes out. It'll be official an hour and a half before the game. That might save you possibly from making a bad play saying, I didn't think this guy was out, or boy, I factored this guy playing tonight and he's not going to sit it out. So you get an hour and a half to get ready for that one. But when we take a look at overall defenses in this game, they haven't been that great. Look at Tennessee. Tennessee's defense. 5.8 yards per carry they're giving up on defense. And then you take a look at the Buffalo Bills, which are always built on defense. They still got 4.4 yards per carry. And both of these teams, pass yards per attempt. Both of them over 7. That's not for completion. That's for every time the other quarterback drops back, they're averaging 7 yards. So there's a lot to be desired in this game, but you're right. Also looking at the NFL scheduling conflicts, I think the Buffalo Bills got a really raw deal here because if you're going to play the Kansas City Chiefs, you want the advantage in your court, and they had that. Both of these games supposed to play, let's say, on Sunday, and then you have that quick turnaround on Thursday, but you're playing the Chiefs at home. Now the Chiefs played yesterday or Sunday, they get to wait a couple days, and now you get them at home, but the Chiefs will be rested and ready, and that whole advantage you have at playing home on Thursday Night Football evaporates here. I'm really looking forward to that next week game on Monday Night Football, but I got to say, from a Bills perspective, if you're looking for them to pick up a win, which probably is going to come in handy late in the season when it comes down to tiebreakers, they got shafted a little bit here, Kyle.
They did get shafted, and that's why I think the Tennessee Titans should have to hire Bill O'Brien as their head coach and GM. It's just absolutely ridiculous. It is. I mean, they clearly violated every protocol there is, and, you can make all the debates you want about COVID and all that other stuff. The fact of the matter is perception's reality, and when half your team and 10 members of your coaching staff are testing positive and you guys are running around on a high school field, you don't deserve to get the advantages that the Titans have gotten. Buffalo should be pissed. I expect Buffalo to win this football game. It does feel like a trap. I'm taking the under, but Buffalo is the better team. I am a little bit concerned about the injury to Tre'Davious White. He's a big part of that secondary that's underachieved so far this year. They were expected to be one of the top, 1, 2, or 3 secondaries along with the 49ers and the Patriots. Maybe Baltimore you could throw in there. Hasn't necessarily been the case. I believe they're allowing the 6th most fantasy points to opposing wide receivers and quarterbacks this year. So some weird stuff with that Buffalo secondary. A.J. Brown coming back for Tennessee feels like a trap. I still like Buffalo and a couple of prop bets if I'm going over this game. I do not think Derrick Henry hits the 98.5 rushing yards. I think that's too high. Buffalo has actually still been pretty good at stopping the run. And the young man playing for Tennessee tonight, Khalif Raymond, he's going to see a lot more snaps with Corey Davis out. You can get him at plus 110 over 2.5 catches. I think Khalif Raymond hits that tonight.
Yeah, it should be interesting. I love giving my thoughts, analysis, opinion, and also picks when games are on. But I got to tell you, 5:30 is going to mean a lot to see who's going to be coming into this one. Yeah. It's an interesting game being on a Tuesday, but I'm not complaining. We're getting NFL football on a Tuesday, and we also don't have a Thursday night game, which I don't mind because I always think that brand of football is bad. We'll see how that long layoff affects Tennessee. And also one of those games, Kyle, we like to talk about is with the advent of, legalized gambling, offshore gambling, live betting. We did very well live betting on our Monday Night Football show last night. This might be one where you wait in the first quarter and be like, you know what? Tennessee looks like they're going to be on their game, and I think can go ahead and make a move. Or if you want Buffalo to get down 7 points early, and then you could take them basically at even money for the rest of the game. There's a lot of ways to get down on this football game tonight, but I'm looking forward to it. And again, squeeze right between those 2 Major League Baseball games. Got about 25 minutes left in the show, so we're going to go through a nice short burst here of the Sunday football games, 251, 252, Chicago and Carolina. What a good matchup here. You're talking about 2 teams. We really didn't know where they were going to go after the first few weeks of the season. We didn't expect that much out of Carolina, a winning football team. Nick Foles takes the reins for Chicago, a competent winning football team. You always like to get the bounce here, Kyle, with the Chicago Bears playing on Thursday night, a couple extra days days to lick your wounds and get after the playbook and try to get after Carolina. Still not many fans, if any, will be in the stands for the Carolina Panthers, so they're going to roll on the road. And how about this? The Carolina Panthers favored by 2.5 over the Chicago Bears. My first indications say I really want to take Chicago in this one because you're going to get a good defensive effort out of the Bears, and I think Nick Foles can manage and do some damage against that Carolina Panthers defense. But they've played well. Matt Rule has them ready to go. But playing as a favorite, that's a little bit of toughness for me to swallow in this one. I lean Bears early in the week.
How about the Mike Davis revenge narrative too? Chicago signed him as a free agent last year and then barely used him. Just treated him like crap, right? So Mike Davis is going to come out fired up. But you're right. Who would have thought these two teams would be a combined 7-3 going into this game? It's absolutely crazy. I still do think Carolina has more weapons. I'm inclined to take the points for Chicago. I think this has like 20-19 or 21-20 written all over it. So I'm inclined to take the Chicago Bears, but I do think Carolina has the more explosive weapons outside.
They do.
It's tough. All the money coming in Chicago. I might go contrarian right now and lean Carolina, but I'm going to have to think on this one throughout the week. Very interesting game. Two teams we did not expect to be in this scenario coming into the season.
No, you're right. And it's kudos to both of these teams, because if it was Mitchell Trubisky and I saw this line, I'd be like, yo, Carolina, I'm all day. But you're going to get a competent effort out of Nick Foles in this game, and he was really good against a stingy defense last week. This defense not so stingy. I mean, hey, look, they might have held Atlanta to 16 points, but Atlanta's been 16 points in back-to-back weeks and weeks they should be scoring. I don't trust them anymore, so we'll see what takes place in that game. But I lean Bears early in the week. Let's keep moving here. 253, 254. Detroit and Jacksonville. Detroit off of a bye week going up against Jacksonville. Jacksonville's offense is still able to log yards. You would think they're going to be able to put up points against the Detroit defense, and thinking the same pattern where rested and ready Detroit, Matt Patricia's job on the line, they should be able to move the football up and down the field. Stafford should have a big day. Those wide receivers that were banged up on the season, an extra week to get healthy. I don't see the Jacksonville Jaguars stopping this team. But again, we're not talking about Detroit saying, hey, they're getting 4 points. They can hang around and might be able to win. They're expected to win this football game at 3.5 across the board. Do you not trust Jacksonville and just see them for what they are? Say, man, this team stinks. I don't know if I can get after them. Or is it that same old Detroit where you see them get the 14-3 lead and it's like, the hell is going on in the second half here? Still early in the week. I don't think Jacksonville is very good offensively and defensively, with their coach probably headed out of town quickly.
Yeah.
But still, look, Detroit's the better overall, more talented team to me. But if I'm leaning early in the week, I look at that same type of total, which we saw last week with the Houston game, didn't get over, which should have. 54 seems like a gift here. I think they get over that total as long as we don't get any weather worries here.
Yeah, that's where I'm leaning to, is the total. And I actually like Detroit. This is one of the games I'm going to bet early in the week and hope that it doesn't get higher, because Jacksonville's defense is embarrassing. I think their coaching is embarrassing. Their play calling. I mean, you touched on it earlier, that bizarre little running back pass where he's trying to pass and he fumbles the ball, and like, what the hell are you guys doing? Yeah, and I'll cut you off real quick on this, because if you read the tea leaves last week, which I was very surprised, Doug Marrone and his staff said, we're going to give our running back more second half carries and involve him there. That wasn't the time to do it. That doesn't mean on first and second down in the second half, you run the football twice to get 4 yards and then put yourself in a bad spot. I couldn't believe what I was watching. Go ahead, Kyle. No, it was awful. And Doug Marrone's done a terrible job there. And right now, even though I'm not like a huge believer in Matt Patricia, that team's going to fight for every dollar that you bet on them. Detroit is not going to give up. Matthew Stafford is absolutely not a quitter. And I think Kenny Golladay and Marvin Jones have a field day against that dreadful secondary. So I like Detroit right now, and the 3.5 doesn't scare me, and I do like the over. These are two bad defenses. Both teams should be in the high 20s, low 30s. So I'm going to take Detroit, and I'll take the over early in the week.
All right, 255, 256, a game that we sort of brought up already, the Atlanta Falcons and the Minnesota Vikings. You saw on Sunday Night Football a very admirable effort, and I 100% agree with the move Mike Zimmer made late in the football game. If you get 2 inches at the end of the game in the red zone, you win that football game. I'd go for it every single time, and even if you don't get it, you leave Seattle on the 5-yard line. But if you leave Seattle on the 5-yard line with anything more than 1 second on the clock, you're probably going to get beat for a 95-yard touchdown by Russell Wilson. He's that good, but I do agree what they did. They played that game right. It was a shame Dalvin Cook got hurt in the third quarter, because let me ask you, Kyle, 4th and inches, fourth quarter, 1 inch to win it. Would have been nice to have Dalvin Cook, even though Madison had over 100 yards in that game. Yeah, that's a nice 1-2 punch. But now it looks like Dalvin Cook, they're going to be, frugal with him and say, sit it out this week, bye week the next week, come back healthy, because you don't want to risk your franchise running back. But having said that, Matt Ryan, does he get Julio Jones back? Does Atlanta rise up, as they like to say, and play well for the new interim head coach, Raheem Morris? The line opens up at 3.5, stays at 3.5 across the board. I want to take Minnesota in this game, but boy, it would be a lot easier, Kyle, if we had Dalvin Cook here.
Yeah, it would. But Alexander Madison, by the way, is a fantastic young running back. And I'm actually kind of pissed about this because ESPN didn't rule out the Titans players for COVID. We couldn't put them on the IR, so I had to drop Alexander Madison to pick up a defense, and now someone else picked him up. And Alexander Madison's very talented. We've seen that over the last couple of years. These are two bad defenses. You would think there would be a lot of scoring in this game. I don't trust the Atlanta offense. I trust the Minnesota offense way more. I don't think you lose you lose some of that big play potential with Alexander Madison over Dalvin Cook, but I still think the Vikings win this easily at home. I'm on the Vikings right now earlier in the week, and I don't feel bad about that at all. Just don't trust the Falcons.
Normally, we would talk a little bit about this game, 257, 258, Houston and Tennessee, but there's no odds on the board yet. We'll see how it plays through tonight, who's in, who's out. And then, of course, on Thursday, we'll be able to hit that pretty good once the lines comes out with a better feel. So we'll get right to the next game. And got to tell you, man, how about this Super Bowl, or toilet bowl, we should call it, 259, 260, Washington and the New York Giants. Washington beat the lowly Philadelphia Eagles. The New York Giants haven't beat anybody, but hey, if we get a live look right now up in North Jersey at the Meadowlands Complex, I'm pretty sure Joe Judge has the coaching staff doing push-ups in the parking lot and the players running laps as opposed to practicing right now with Joe High School Judge. But we got a football game. And look at this. Somebody's got to be. I guess it could be a pick 'em, but somebody's got to be favoring this game. Looks like the Giants are the favorites. 3s across the board, 2.5 showing up, and over under a 43. Now look, Kyle Allen playing for the Washington Redskins actually cashed in a touchdown in his little bit quarter plus work, and then after Alex Smith got in the football game. What did we expect? I don't know. People thought it was like a Disney movie, like Alex Smith coming in, 26 for 29, 362 yards, 4 touchdowns. Here come the Washington, quote-unquote, Redskins. No, you got exactly what you thought you would get. A guy with an aqua fresh leg out here that was about to get snapped in half, and Aaron Donald actually jumped on his back trying to snap his leg right out of the gate. 37 yards and a 3.2 QBR rating for Alex Smith. Guys, Washington, deactivate the guy. Standing ovation. His kids were in the stands. They were probably crying by the end of the game. They're going to kill Daddy out here. Save him. This team is done. Save him. Kyle Allen. The Giants are a better team here. They're better.
Yeah, Kyle Allen's got to play, right? And they haven't announced that yet, and they need to. But I got to take the Giants. I actually liked what the Giants did against the Cowboys, even though it's a terrible defense. They fought back.
Steve Slayton.
Darius Slayton won me some money DFS this weekend. Those couple of long catches jumped me ahead in the bracket, so I had a nice DFS weekend because of Darius Slayton.
Yeah.
Oh, God. Yeah, I mean, I don't want much to do with this game. I hope they do the right thing and play Kyle Allen. It was cute to see the wife and the kids. Then it was scary because they were sacking him like 4 million times every time he dropped back. Good Lord, give me the Giants right now, but do yourselves a favor, stay away from this game and just root for like the freaky things that you see, and hopefully it's just Kyle Allen. That's all I got to say about that.
Or root for West Virginia's and Miami Dolphins Steve Slayton as opposed to Darius Slayton this game. But there were a couple of people that said if there was a game that their tight end Evan Ingram was going to score a touchdown against Dallas, he scored a touchdown against Dallas.
It was a rushing play, for Christ's sake. They didn't even throw it to him. It was a damn run.
Look, if you can't catch, you got to have somebody hand the football off to you.
That's true.
So makes a lot of sense there. But let's keep going here. Good game here. 1 o'clock, 261, 262. Baker Mayfield, who I thought is improving this year, and they had a chance to take down the Colts, which they did. Got a little bit hairy late in that football game, but neither here nor there. That happens in the NFL. Teams make runs just like the NBA. They picked up a victory. Now they're going to get a step up in competition here, to me, with the Pittsburgh Steelers, who look really good. But are we at the point now where we're trusting the Cleveland Browns to go into Pittsburgh and pick up a victory? Because if we look at the opening line at 4, it drops to 3.5. You don't really go in and say, hey, I'll take the 3.5 because they can keep it close. You're taking the Cleveland Browns because you think they can win the football game. I don't know if they're there just yet here, Kyle. I don't know.
Yeah, no, they kind of got gifted, and I kind of made the mistake on this, and I had changed my mind late, but it was too late to change it, unfortunately. Phillip Rivers looked lost in the pocket. So Myles Garrett, the most dominant pass rusher in the game. There's absolutely no doubt about it. But the Pittsburgh Steelers defense is very good. They didn't look great against the Eagles, but they did enough to win. Ben Roethlisberger at home, just those few towels in there, they look pretty good on offense. Baker Mayfield suffered an injury late in that game. He's probably got a rib injury going on right now, bruised at least. He did not look good at the end of that football game. You're getting a much more polished and capable quarterback in the pocket against that pass rush and Ben Roethlisberger than you got in Phillip Rivers last week. The line's too short for me. I like Pittsburgh. 3.5 doesn't seem like enough. If it was 5.5, 6.5, I'd lean Cleveland, but I think Pittsburgh wins this game at home. I just don't see Cleveland beating this defense at home. I just don't see it.
I wonder if they changed one of these games, because we talked about it with Dave Mason just a short while ago. There's so many 1 o'clock games. You only have 2 4 o'clock games coming. Come on, NFL. Do better than that. Let's keep going here. 263, 264. Baltimore coming in to beat up on my Philadelphia Eagles, which they should. 7 out of every 10 tickets coming in on Baltimore. Opens up at 7.5. It's 7.5 primarily across the board. Chris Offshore at SBRodds.com showing up at a -8. 48.5 in that same realm. There's some 47.5s out there. Liked what I saw out of the Philadelphia Eagles. I thought they fought maybe a moral victory against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Might be getting some players healthy this week. We'll see if Deshaun Jackson and Alshon Jeffrey appear on the football field. It can only help. The only, I guess you could say, bright spot is, 1, the Eagles are home, and 2, Lamar Jackson hasn't looked all that good passing the football the past couple weeks, but still you're getting a team that's markedly more talented right now than the Philadelphia Eagles. Still a banged-up offensive line for the Philadelphia Eagles. I don't like what we're coming into, but I think the Eagles are going to put up a fight. That's a tough number here, getting to that 8 range. Do I think the Eagles will get slapped at home? I don't know, because they'll still be fighting at the end of the football game like we saw. You had every chance for the Philadelphia Eagles to lay down 17 points on the road to the Steelers, and they fought all the way back and tried a 57-yard field goal, which just missed wide right to give them the lead late in that football game. I think the Eagles will fight, but I don't think they're going to win this football game.
Yeah, it could be much closer, and I kind of made this mistake last week. I was concerned about Cincinnati covering, and Baltimore just beat the brakes off them. But you're right. It's a testament to Doug Peterson. That team is well coached. They fight hard. Carson Wentz is not a quitter. I mean, we can say whatever we want about Carson Wentz and some bad decisions, etc., but that dude will throw his shoulders to get the extra yard, to get the first down late in the game. So I think the number's too high. I'm actually leaning Baltimore to win, but I think it's closer than what people say. I like Philadelphia to cover right now. I like the fight in the Eagles. I really do. I think you bring up a great point. They just don't quit. I'm not going to have any of my money on this game personally, but if I had to pick, I'd say the Eagles cover because they fight back.
And again, interesting to see Wednesday and Thursday. Check those practice reports out to see who's in, out. Lane Johnson, who left the football game last week versus the Pittsburgh Steelers. You definitely need him available. It looks like you got some second opinions, got some good, knowledge back saying, look, it might just be a pain tolerance thing, but you're not going to do any more damage. You just see if you can get it rested and ready. But again, I always look and say, I don't think the Eagles are going to win, so I wouldn't mind if Lane Johnson sat on the bench and then, as you started the second half of the season, got some players back, because it's not win-now mode for the Eagles or anybody in the NFC East. As long as you hang around, you definitely got a shot at this. Let's keep going here. Cincinnati and Indianapolis, 2 teams that didn't look all that good last week, but obviously you're figuring on a bounce-back effort from Frank Reich and his staff. And that bounce-back effort has to start with Phillip Rivers, who hasn't looked all that good yet on this season. That was the one mark where you paid this guy a lot of money. But if I could tell you right now, you can put Tom Brady in, you could put Nick Foles in, you could put Cam Newton in. I'm pretty sure they would look a lot better than what you're getting out of Phillip Rivers. Even though you say, hey, Donnie, he had the 80% pass percentage coming into the last couple weeks, or pass completion percentage. But that arm just looks ragged, the same way we rag on Drew Brees. It's just amazing that you got a guy like Ty Hilton. If you can get him the football 50 yards downfield, that offense completely opens up. Now you're going to take on a team with Cincinnati that can score, but they didn't score last week against the Baltimore Ravens. That's an 8 number and a 46.5. I think the Colts win and bounce back in this game, but I wouldn't be surprised if Joe Burrow reappears this week and says, you know what? I got a little bit of offense left in me.
Yeah, no, I like the Bengals to cover right here. This one feels really easy to me because I don't think Phillip Rivers is competent in the pocket at all. He looks absolutely lost. He looks scared. as soon as anyone is near him, he's floating that ball up softer than, my 3-year-old niece throws a football. I mean, it's absolutely dreadful. And this is one of those games, if let's say you got the Colts up by 4 with 7 minutes to go. The Colts aren't driving down to get that dagger touchdown. Frank Reich does not trust Phillip Rivers. They're going to run the football, try to take time off the clock, and rely on the defense to stop the Bengals. The Bengals look bad against Baltimore, no doubt about it. But I think they do bounce back and cover in this game. And I just don't trust that Colts offense or Phillip Rivers to put up enough points to justify a +8 number right now.
Now, I actually would be looking towards the team total with the Indianapolis Colts this week and say, well, Donnie, just banged on Phillip Rivers. Why would you do that? It's a product of the environment, because last week, the reason I like the Cleveland Browns is you got 2 nasty pass rushers getting after Phillip Rivers, and it showed, forced him into a pick 6. You don't have that this week. So he is going to be able to sit back in that pocket and relax and make some throws. That could be big for maybe a team total if you don't like the actual side of the game. Best game of the day to me, Green Bay and Tampa Bay. And I love the fact that this line opens up 1.5, stays at 1.5 at a lot of outlets, at 2 some places with an over-under of 54.5. We know Tampa Bay is banged up heading into this football game. People can't get enough of Green Bay, but yet that line still sitting there at 1.5, begging you to take the Green Bay Packers in this game. It's a fascinating matchup. Do we cross that line? Just said, look, Aaron Rodgers is going to beat anybody, because I like that Tampa Bay defense. I think it's going to come to play. And also the same bump that we talked about the Chicago Bears playing against Carolina, they played on Thursday. They get an extra, 3 or 4 days after a loss to get their stuff in order. Probably not going to have Chris Godwin in this game. Still, obviously don't have O.J. Howard. He's out for the year. So they are banged up a little bit. But is this a Brady bounce back spot? That line is begging you to take the Green Bay Packers. It's interesting.
Yeah, it is. And they're coming off a bye week. So these are 2 very well-rested teams, right? And Tampa Bay, terrific against the run. Carlton Davis, fantastic young corner. Is probably going to be shadowing Devontae Adams for much of the game. You would expect Devontae Adams to be ready to go in this game now with the extra week off. He was close to playing the last game. I got to lean Green Bay. Tom Brady after an extra rest. This is going to be a lot of fun. This is probably one of those games where I want to put money on it. I know the public's going to. I'm probably just going to sit back and enjoy it without the stress. If I had to pick a side, I'd pick Green Bay. I think Aaron Rodgers is red hot. Aaron Jones is very, very good. The way Tampa Bay is going to win this game, they need the running game. So they need a healthy Fournette. They need Ronald Jones to run the football. They need to attack him in the slot, because Jair Alexander is a very good perimeter corner out there on what will still probably be a questionable Mike Evans. He's always questionable, and then no Chris Godwin. So I'm leaning the Packers right now. That's where I'm going. I'm nervous about it, but I'm leaning the Packers.
Everybody named Mama leaning the Packers. We'll see how it shapes up, and that's why we do a show on Tuesday and Thursday, and then another one right before kickoff on Sunday, right here at sportsbookreview.com. We got 3 games to go on Sunday. We'll save those doubleheader Monday Night Football games. Obviously, we can talk a lot about those on Thursday and also do those as well on Sunday. The Los Angeles Rams and the San Francisco 49ers. I took the Miami Dolphins +9 as my banker bet last week. I look like a genius doing it, but even as I was getting the scoring updates and watching, I'm saying, is this really happening here? Because every time I look down at my phone, the score was increasing for the Miami Dolphins. And I'm saying to myself, where's the punchback from the 49ers? They're probably going to get back into this. Because again, we're talking about the Miami Dolphins here. Could have been that Byron Jones comes back and now all of a sudden they're a legitimate football team. Because when Ryan Fitzpatrick brings his A game, when he takes those, risks down the field and they work, this team can be explosive. And they put up a lot of points. And then you take a look at the San Francisco 49ers that we hope get some help back in the secondary. Richard Sherman re-injures his calf in in rehab this week. So that's another setback. Doesn't look like he's on the mend or on the horizon anytime soon. And the cavalry, so to speak, is not coming back because, the thing we wanted to look at was Jimmy Garoppolo. Was he healthy enough to play? And the answer was absolutely no. So now you're going back to your backup quarterback situation, and you're playing a team that's hungry out here and really busting up teams in the Rams. And I take a look at this line, opens up at -3, sitting at 3.5 most outlets here, over under at 50.5. I got to tell you, the same type of progress we're looking at the Green Bay Packers is with the Rams. Everybody is on these sides here.
Yeah, it's under for me right now. I don't think the 49ers offense can get enough done against that Rams defense to get there, and it makes me really sad. I will throw this caveat out there. The 49ers in prime time at home, no matter who's playing, have historically been very, very good. And that's all
What
we
about
got
the
going.
last time they played at home in prime time?
Yeah, well, besides that, yeah. But I'm just going, and historically, it's the Rams right now. The 49ers are done. They need to get healthy on defense. If they can't rush the passer, it just negates everything they have going on in the back end of that defense. And we're still banged up on the back end of the defense. So it just plays into the strengths of the Rams. You got to like the Rams here. 3.5 actually seems too small of a number, to be completely honest. This is one of those things where I might look at the little big win where you get those sort of like plus numbers if the team wins by double digits. Because I don't know if the 49ers can compete in this game. They're going to need a whole lot of Raheem Mostert. And, God, is it going to be Mullins or Beathard? Are they going to try to throw Garoppolo out there again? I hope not. Against Aaron Donald, we saw what he almost did to Alex Smith. You got to take the Rams, and it breaks my heart. That's where we're
even
at.
one of those bets that you're taking a look because Kyle Shanahan's going to be angry this week. The team's going to be whipped into a frenzy coming out.
Sure.
But even at the simplest form, I look at this and say, if the line is 3, which means the first half's probably going to be 2, maybe 1.5, it wouldn't shock you if it shocked me if the Rams were down at the half in this game. Do you know what I mean? Like
me too.
20, it just looks like a Rams runaway, but that's why we're here, and that's why that line is 3 and not 13 at this point. Last game we'll talk about, because if we spend the time on the Denver-New England game, we don't know who's at quarterback for either team or who's really playing. Again, we'll double down on these on Thursday and also Sunday. But how about this one? 279, 280, 405 start. I don't know who's going to be watching this over the Green Bay-Tampa Bay game. But Ryan Fitzpatrick, the hot Miami Dolphins, he staved off his own job, I guess, for at least one more week because the calls were starting to come for Tua Tagovailoa. He plays really well. Now the calls go down. We'll see if Fitzmagic can do. But I got to tell you, with the New York Jets, their coach is game to game about to be fired. The news comes out today as we take a look at Le'Veon Bell. Is he going to play? Is he going to be effective? Are they going to trade him before that? And what's the mindset of a football team going nowhere? Oh, we got to go to Miami. I can't wait for this season to be over. But look at this line. The Dolphins are favored by 8.5 at some outlets here. I don't know if the Jets can actually compete. I don't know if they want to compete, but it's all going to come down to Flacco looks like he's going to be the starter. I'm going to wonder to see if Sam Darnold practices this week, or maybe they just shut him down and say, Sam, it's a lost cause this year. We don't want you to get hurt. You're a franchise guy. But nothing that comes out of New York shows me that they're even going to put an effort playing the Miami Dolphins this week.
No, you got to like the Dolphins. You got to like them a lot. They just went on the road to the 49ers, a team that had Super Bowl aspirations before the start of the season, fully healthy, their starting quarterback, and they beat them so bad they had to bench their starting quarterback. Got to take the Dolphins. The Jets are an absolute joke. I know Joe Flacco tried a little bit, but that's a bad football team. He's got to be the next coach that's fired, right? It's got to be Adam Gase, maybe Doug Marrone in Jacksonville. I mean, it feels like between those two, right? Unless I'm forgetting somebody. I like the Dolphins in this one. It's a weird game. It's weird to see all these games postponed and moved. You're looking at the books like, geez, this is moved, this is moved, this is moved. I like the Dolphins over the Jets. Jets are terrible.
Fun games that we'll talk about on Thursday and Sunday. As I said, that doubleheader on Monday Night Football, Arizona and Dallas and Kansas City and Buffalo. But we got a game tonight, Buffalo and Tennessee. You guys are going to enjoy it about 2 hours time. Keep in mind, once again, in 30 minutes, you're going to get the inactive reports out. So if you're thinking you're on the fence about betting that football game, wait it out for a half hour. Check those inactives. You get a better feed or overall feel on the game itself. Looks like 3s, 3.5s across the board. 300 people watching live with us here in the chat box. Thank you guys for tuning in. 51 thumbs up. This is what we do on Tuesday. Open up that playbook so we can get those pencils sharpened for Thursday. But it's always fun to spend time with you guys here coming in the chat box talking with us. We're so close to 71,000 subscriptions on sportsbookreview.com right here on YouTube. Hopefully by the next time we appear on camera on Thursday, that will have been completed. But thanks once again to your time. I'm Donnie Seymour. He's Kyle Purviance. We are sportsbookreview.com. And this has been your NFL show for Tuesday. Good luck, guys.